Milan, and I'm the director of the BRONCO Percussion Group. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I hope you enjoyed that really exhilarating piece by David Skidmore. And if it was a little too loud, there is no harm in doing this for any or all portion of this evening. There will certainly be other works tonight that are not nearly as loud. Tonight is a really unique and special evening because we get to honor the memory of Peter Magadini. Peter touched the lives of all of us in the studio and the lives of so many other people who we're going to have the ability to sort of highlight and share their impact that Pete had on them. So I'm not going to be speaking a ton tonight, and I'm going to allow space for us to sort of share our evening to have that experience. So the next three pieces you're going to hear, and I should say the format of tonight is going to be music, some kind of either live or recorded testimonial, and then music back and forth. So the next time I'll speak is right before the last piece. So the next piece you're going to hear is a marimba duo by the Argentinian composer Alejandro Vinao called Book of Grooves, specifically the fourth movement of a set of really amazing pieces. The harmonic and rhythmic language of this is really, really unique, features a lot of polymetric time, and I think it's something that Pete would really, really have loved to listen to. So after that, what we're going to have is a total 180 in style, and we're going to have a post-minimal work by Chris Cerrone, a percussion quartet, Natural History of Vacant Lots, featuring electronics, featuring found sounds like metal pipes tuned to specific pitches that we had to go to Home Depot for, and that's just a total departure from the first two pieces, so it should be a nice sort of a palate cleanser, if you will. And then after that, you're going to hear two ragtime xylophone solos that are very jovial, very uplifting, and will feature, well, I should say, any piece that you see drum set on this evening is Pete's actual drum set. So that's a really special thing, so we're super honored to be able to bring that instrument out tonight. So the first testimonial that you'll see is on the screen, and I'm going to hit play on another video, and then we will get the music started. So thank you.
This is Steve Smith speaking about my friend Pete Magadini. Pete had a message for musicians, especially for drummers, about the beauty of polyrhythms. And his ideas really appealed to me. I knew about his book, Polysymbol Time, but I had not yet ever spoken to him or met him. And in the early 80s, I believe it was 1980, I was in my early 20s. I was on tour with Journey in Canada, and I heard that he lived in Toronto. I somehow tracked him down. As I've been reminded, took a limousine to his house and had my first lesson with Pete, which was, I found, quite useful, some ideas that I started to incorporate into my playing. I dug a lot deeper into Pete's polyrhythmic concept when he happened to move to Novato, California, the town that I was also living in. So at that time, we got together, had many discussions, and I ended up taking a weekly lesson from Pete, going through his Polysymbol Time book, one page at a time. It was so helpful to have him at my side, pointing out what I was doing wrong, what I was doing right, and just going through that entire book. It really made a huge impression and imprint on my musicianship. And Pete and I stayed in touch over the years through occasional visits and email exchanges. I believe the last time I saw him in person was after he had moved to Chicago, and he came to visit me and the other drummers at Drum Fantasy Camp. And I treasured my relationship with Pete. He was a beautiful man and very soulful person. We discussed drums and music and life and lots of different conversations that stay with me to this day. So I'm sending out a lot of love and respect to the spirit of Pete Magadini and to the family and his close friends. I'm very sad to learn about Pete's passing, and many blessings to the family and to the spirit and continued message of Pete Magadini.
My name's Leah Bowden. That's Nixie right there. Pete was one of my earliest musical mentors and my first serious drum teacher. I was maybe 16 years old and totally obsessed with figuring out how to make a career out of my love for music. Meeting the expectations of such a master musician was a thrill, and falling short would send me right back to the woodshed. I remember him telling me toward the end of our time together that I was the real deal. And that meant so much to me, especially as a young woman trying to become a professional drummer. Another special occasion was when Pete invited me and my then boyfriend to hear him with Susan Chen's trio at Harris's Steakhouse. We had never been to such a fancy establishment before. Pete even treated us, which probably zeroed out my lessons money for the month, and invited me to sit in. This was exhilarating and terrifying, but I felt encouraged and ready for more. Pete and I worked together until I left for college and stayed in touch afterwards. I have always felt proud to be included on his impressive roster of students, and his pride in us is obvious if you ever talked to him or followed his Facebook page. Today, I am a percussionist, drummer, and music professor. I also produced the first academic study of Max Roach and his percussion ensemble, Boom, and I am now the official archivist for Boom co-founder Warren Smith.
Sounds, oh, SOBs, oh my God.
What year was it? It doesn't say?
No, but this was very early in Boom's inception.
Pete has been with me throughout this journey and always will be. We love you, Pete. Thank you.
My name is Keith Mardak, and I first met Peter in the mid-70s in Toronto, Canada. My friend Bob Hirschman played bass with Peter in the early years, and then Bob later worked for my company, Helen Publishing. For whatever reason, we were in Canada and hooked up with Peter. I was totally impressed with his drumming skills. They're absolutely amazing. Peter was one of the world's best jazz drummers, and he backed numerous artists and played in many groups. He became known as the master of polyrhythms. What is a polyrhythm? A polyrhythm is a combination of two or more rhythms played simultaneously while moving at the same linear tempo. So generally speaking, two rhythms are considered a polyrhythm if the number one is their only common divisor. Sound complex? Well, it is, and Peter was one of the few that could play them, but more important, could teach them. Probably the best known jazz song with a polyrhythm is Take 5 by Dave Brubeck and Paul Desmond. Its timing is 4/5, or 4/5. That means your left hand is going 1, 2, 3, 4, while your right hand is doing the same thing in the same measure, but playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sound complex? Well, it is. Peter was only one of the few people that could explain how to do it. He could do 5/4, but he could do 7/5 or almost any other combination possible. Imagine Peter's brain. I can't. he was a genius. My company is Talented Publishing, the largest music print publisher in the world. We published 5 books and 2 videos by Peter, and they sell very well. We receive more comments than you could imagine from satisfied drummers that have used Peter's publications. If you like a keepsake of Peter's presence, you can purchase one of Peter's videos and you can have him forever. Or you can go onto YouTube, punch in Peter, and you'll be amazed at how much you can see of him. Peter was one of the nicest and most caring people I've ever met. First, it was all about how are you, your kids, family, and never about him. It would take a while to get him to talk about his personal life, but it was always easy to talk about music. And so we had this strong common bond, music. As we all do, and especially Helene and his family, we'll miss him deeply.
At this time, we'd love to welcome Robert Percussion to the stage to give a live testimony.
You stopped clapping and I wasn't even down yet. So my name is Bob Hirschman, and I first met Peter in 1962. I had been a professional musician before then in Los Angeles, and I was working a gig playing behind some comedians, and the regular drummer was not available, so he sent in a sub, and the sub told me that he was going to law school and that he was leaving the next day. And I said, oh, that sounds good. And 2 weeks later, I was in law school in San Francisco. I met Peter probably in either 62 or 63, because by that, I was a bass player. I still am a bass player. I met Peter on a gig, and we started working together. And then Peter introduced me to George Duke. I'm sure many of you have heard of George Duke. And Peter and I were part of the George Duke Trio, and we played jazz around San Francisco. Now, this was in the early 60s, up till 65 when I left San Francisco. And we played with George. We played at various clubs in San Francisco. Now, the jazz scene in San Francisco in the early 60s was amazing. There was a club called the Jazz Workshop, and we used to go see Miles Davis at the Jazz Workshop and John Coltrane and other really fantastic jazz musicians that were developing their style in the new era of jazz music. Peter, I came back to LA, and a couple of years later, Peter came to LA with his then wife and 2 kids, and we stayed close together then, and we stayed close throughout Peter's life. And it brings tears to my eyes. I had heard that Peter was sick, and I called him, and he was fading, but we spent 2 hours on the phone just reminiscing about our time together and about Peter's career And I would say, I would have to say that Peter's spirit is with us tonight. And the musicians tonight are just really wonderful. And the polyrhythmic pieces are a joy to behold. Thank you.
It's tough sitting here now knowing what to share with you about Pete because he had such a massive impact, not on just my playing, but on my life. He was probably the first teacher I ever had that created a specific lesson plan and a specific roadmap just for me. I knew other students that were studying with Pete at the same time, and we weren't working on the same thing because he had created something for me and he created something for the next student and created something new for the next student. And that is something I still carry with myself today as an educator. But I think the most important thing I can share with you is the best advice I ever got in my entire life, and that was definitely from Pete. I had come in off the road, I'd been touring for a couple years and hadn't seen him in a little while, and he asked me how tour was going and how the band was, and I said, oh, it's good, man, it's great. And then we started talking about lessons, and I started explaining to him this thing that I was working on. And he said, look, man, I'm gonna stop you right there. When you talk about your band and touring and recording, you seem happy. But when you start explaining things, you just light up like no one I've ever seen. And then he said the words that literally changed my life. He said, teaching could be your plan A. And man, I can't even tell you the amount of stress and chaos and everything that just melted away when someone that you idolize says, you could just choose to be happy. So Pete, wherever you are, just know that I love you, and the lessons that you've imparted on me will last with me for the rest of my life, and I hope that I have the opportunity to pass them on to other people like you did for me.
Hey, my name is Michael Shreve. I'm a drummer who's best known for being the original drummer of Santana, but I've done many things since then. I just want to share my fortune with you of my experience with Pete Magadini. I was really lucky, fortunate to be able to be with Pete. I lived in San Francisco Bay Area in the 60s and 70s, and I was fortunate enough to run into Pete, who became my drum teacher. And he was very influential on both my playing in my life, and I'll always be grateful to Peter for that. I hope that any of you that have had the opportunity to be around Pete or study with him realize how fortunate you were and are still. Thank you.
Well, we've finally gotten to the moment you've all been waiting for, getting to hear Peter Magadini's 5-alarm time cycle, which is our next tune. This piece is for 7 percussionists, electronic pre-recorded tracks, lighting, and a dancer. It is right on the score that the program that you're holding. And the graphic is actually the full notation for the work. And so the score features a number of different symbols, various instructions that we interpret creatively to create the music you're about to hear. And it's been an absolute blast to get to dive into a work with graphic notation such as this. And it's also going to be just the second time that this piece has ever been played live. It was premiered at Peter Magadini's graduate master's degree recital, and to the best of my knowledge, it has not been played since. So we're really excited to bring this piece to future audiences. And just lastly, an evening like this takes a ton of support. So there's many people to thank. First and foremost, thank you to the students for performing. Can we give another round of applause? They've really gone above and beyond in their preparation and just totally exceeding their potential to meet the music at its highest level. So it's been an absolute joy to work with them this semester. Thank you to all of you for coming out. This event would not be as fun if you weren't here. Very much thank you for your time and your support of the program and in honoring and celebrating Pete. A big thank you to our crew behind the scenes. John Franson and Wendy Skeen are both our fearless audio recording engineers and lighting specialists tonight that are going to help in a pretty big way. Been super helpful in putting on the show. Ulrich Hansen is the featured dancer that you're going to see dance as part of this piece. He's adjunct faculty at Boise State, also has his own drumming background as well. So that's been just a blast getting to collaborate with him. And then finally, a huge thanks to Peter's family, his wife Ellen and his son Gregory for really just opening up this evening to share together and letting us celebrate Pete. So again, we'll take a little bit of time to get set up and then it'll be 5-alarm time cycle. Thank you.
Offered to give me lessons. That's when I knew this was my passion. Every lesson was like a new adventure with Pete by my side. When he knew I was ready for something bigger, he got me my own drum set. Once he moved to Idaho, I had the choice to be in my school band, and I took it. Now I play in performances at school. It was like he saw it in me from the start.
Hi there, my name's Andrew Dickerson. I'm a drummer in Sydney, Australia, and I just wanted to share with you all a life-changing, incredible experience I had this year with Peter. We'd become friends on Facebook, as you do. He didn't know me and I didn't know him, but I knew of him through his playing and through his teaching and through his books. And our personal sort of relationship started with a post that he'd made about the Roy Burns finger control book. Basically, he was saying that anyone who hadn't gone through it with Roy, or someone who had been through it with Roy Burns, probably wasn't getting the full benefit. That raised my curiosity, and I sent him a message and I said, yeah, I'm a professional drummer in Australia. I've been playing for 40 years. Would you take me on and take me through the book? And he was very gracious, and he said yes. And he said this is going to take some time. He said probably 10 or 12 lessons to really cover it in detail, and that was fine for me. So we started lessons in June this year. We're doing afternoon lessons his time, which was a 7 a.m. lesson my time. So I was up 6 o'clock in the morning getting ready to do the lessons in this room where I'm sitting now. And right from the beginning, he was so knowledgeable, so generous with his time and sharing everything he had to offer. And he was funny, great cat, very, very encouraging. And I got great benefit from the lessons. My chops improved. I took it really seriously. And I started to feel the benefits in my playing after just a few lessons. After those first few lessons, I went to Japan for several weeks, and we'd arranged that when I got back from Japan, we'd start up the series of lessons again. Fast forward, when I get back, I get a message from Peter saying, can't do the lesson this week. I've got a few medical things I need to take care of. Can we do a lesson next week? And I said, sure, no problem. The next week, a week goes by, I get a message, it's Wednesday morning, it's my only day off for the whole week. It's just helter-skelter, busy week. He says, can we do a lesson in just over an hour from now, please? And my initial reaction was, man, I'm tired. Not today. But something told me to do it, so I sent a message back saying, yes, let's do it. He said, can we do it on FaceTime? Which was surprising because we'd done the rest of the lessons on Zoom. I said, sure. I said, can we do a quick check just to make FaceTime's working? And we called on the phone. And you can't believe the shock. I see him, he's lying in bed. And he really didn't look well. He looked really unwell. A different person to the person I'd seen at the previous lesson. And I was shocked, man. I was shocked. I said, if you're not up to it today, we can do it next week. And he looked me dead in the eye over the phone from the other side of the world and said, I don't think there's going to be a next week. Let's do it today. An hour later, we were on FaceTime doing the lesson. He'd got Helene to bring down the Roy Burns book to the bed where he was. He'd come home from the hospital basically to live out the rest of his life there, and he was in what was to become his deathbed. And he took me through the rest of the book, page by page, and didn't leave out a thing. He talked me through everything. He watched my hands over the phone. He gave me advice about stickings, everything I needed to know. He took me through. It was really obvious that he was struggling. He was in pain. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that someone would care that deeply, not about me, but just about the music, that he would go to that length. He was a few days away from passing away, and he cared that deeply about passing on the music, and the knowledge that he had that he would even think of me was remarkable. I'm some guy on the other side of the world who he's had a few lessons with, and it blows my mind, and it's changed me forever just to have that experience that he had. So he took me through the whole book, showed me everything I needed to know, despite the fact that he really, it was obviously a struggle for him. He cared that deeply. And, at the end of the lesson, he said he really respected me for asking him to take me through it. He said it's great to be around a drummer who still wants to be improved. And his final words to me were, "Hey buddy, I hope you have a beautiful career." And we said goodbye, and that was it. But that experience changed me forever. It was so deep, so profound, and he cared that deeply that, you know, I only hope I can try to even start to measure up to that sort of commitment to playing and teaching and passing on knowledge. My life, I'm a better person from knowing him, and he's a remarkable man, and it's just such a great experience. Okay, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.